when I was a young priest, I watched whatever things. I remember we were riding back from a funeral home
Uh-huh.
out to the cemetery on Lake Michigan Drive. And I
Yeah.
said, how come your coach is choking? I said, something wrong with it? I looked down at the gas gauge, it was down empty. And I says, oh my God. So the guy who was driving, what are we going to do? And his only job was to gas the cars and wash them back then. I said, well, you got this gas station up here, put $5 in, and then we got
Uh-huh.
to make our way to the cemetery. Well, everybody's in the procession behind us. There's like 25 cars. So we go back out Lake Michigan Drive, and every car went to the gas station.
Oh.
And that's where they had that rope where the bell would ring. We just started laughing. I go, God, that poor guy's got to listen to that thing all the way out. So I mentioned something at the cemetery, weird things happen. Bill died, and da da da.
Oh
And it's just strange. So,
my
okay,
goodness.
well, that guy sucked up to me regularly after that with his bosses. I says, what happened? I said, well, you didn't put enough gas in it. We put it in while we could.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you just brought the whole funeral procession with you.
While they stopped, we just smiled at the side mirror and went, oh my God, they're all behind us. Going through the gas station. I thought they'd go a little stop sign and turn, but
Right.
nope.
Nuh-uh.
We're the leader, so they're going to do what we do. There's all
Good.
kinds of funny stuff that happens.
Yep.
But I've said if you want to learn the real people, funerals and weddings, they don't do very much. That's where the real family stuff comes out. Good and bad and everything in between.
Yep.
And you're the one who sort of just tries to keep them in the right direction.
Try to corral
Try
everybody.
to be kind.
Uh-huh.
I grew up in a big family, so I'm used to just keep moving. They're all going to giggly do everything else. You just got to keep moving ahead.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Because we have family get-togethers. Everybody's loud, so it's like you have 6 conversations going on.
Yep.
You're used to it.
Yep.
I feel bad when we got sisters who are in-laws who want to get married, and they're like, is this usual? Yep.
Yep. Welcome.
Yeah. They're not used to it. They're like the only kid in their family.
Right.
It's like, I don't know if I can do this. I say, yeah, you'll get used to it.
Yeah. How many siblings do you have?
Well, I'm the oldest.
Okay.
I have 5 brothers and a sister.
Okay.
And my sister's like number 5, I think.
Okay.
In that order. So
Yep.
I'm the oldest. The youngest was what I call a 10-year trailer.
A 10-year trailer?
Yeah, because we were born all within a year of each other.
Yep.
And then you got 10 years. It's like, whoa, okay.
That's very
So I was
similar.
going to the seminary in college, and that's when the youngest was born. So I'm, okay, this is even changing diapers and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And good lessons you learned.
Yep, that's true.
Family life.
Yep. My dad is the youngest of 6, but the first 5 are really close in age, and then there's a 9-year gap, and then him. So very similar.
Yep. Well, things happen like that.
Yep.
And they didn't have terms like natural family planning and stuff like that back then.
Uh-huh.
So, but you grew up with larger families. They had 4 kids. Most families I chum around with even still got 4 kids, but nowadays, if they have 1 or 2, that's a lot they think.
Yeah. I'm one of 9.
Oh, there you go. So
yeah,
you're used to loud and getting together.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't want to pay attention to them, you don't have to look that way.
Exactly. One sibling's bugging you, you go to the other one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're sort of an interesting group because all our life was with all these boys. We just played sports a lot.
There you go.
Some were a little more rougher than others, and our mom would yell at us, knock it off. Stop for 5 minutes, then go back at it.
Then get back at it, yep.
Play kill a guy with the ball, we used to call it. So we loved it. You just tackle each other, and you don't want to hurt them, but you want to make sure they felt it.
Right.
That's nothing new in family life.
Nope, especially.
You're not being mean, it's just kids doing what kids do. Test your boundaries.
Yep.
We didn't break any bones.
You never broke any bones? You never had any sibling injuries?
Yeah, but they weren't because of sports. Man,
okay.
I remember we used to ride the bus to school at St. Pat's in Portland. And then we got kicked off the bus because I guess we were too loud or whatever. I can't remember the reason. So we walked to school after that. So out to high school. But then we
you were like banned from the bus?
Well, they told us not to ride the bus anymore because of whatever discipline. I don't remember what it was. But, when you're brothers are still doing what they do, and they get on the bus acting goofy. The bus driver might not like it, I guess.
Yeah,
And
that's
in a
true.
small town, they know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember one day we rode the bus, and we had to go across the street where we were picked up, and it was a winter day when my brother was going to be late, so he runs out there and he slipped, and there's a car coming. It's the middle of winter, and I'm going, he's going to get poked by a car.
Oh
So
my gosh.
just in time, the car goes by, and he jumps, and he holds on to the back of the pickup type car, and then he bashed his 2 teeth in. Well, God, they just freaked out. They got hit by a car. So next thing you know, he goes and gets, well, that's why he doesn't have front teeth sometimes, that stuff, and some other things. But that's the only injury I remember. Otherwise, boys are boys. They get a crack in your coconut a little bit from throwing ice at each other. I know, but
that was the worst of it.
We sort of lived. If you didn't break anything, you weren't bleeding. It didn't hurt that much.
Right.
I
Yeah.
know, but it just because you played sports, you're around that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And our big sport growing up was playing baseball. So
okay.
I always seemed the guy that had to hit the ball because I could hit it the highest.
Okay.
You know, and we played on a busy street.
Uh-huh.
And then you yell car. Well, they're
Right.
going 55, and you get a baseball stuck into their tire. They yell at you a little bit.
Oh, I'm
As
sure.
kids, we all run over here, and then they aren't going to figure you out. But they do. You know. But
oh,
it was in a small town in Portland. It's just sort of was. But all my relatives are Upers because that's where I was born in the UP. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
So there's a lot of Upers over around here, and every parish I've been at. You mentioned that. Where at? And then you find out where they're at. And everybody
find
up
the group.
there knows every little burg. And I said, yep, my final resting place is going to be up there. I got my grave, the markers there.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You had to get all that stuff lined up when you're supposed to, which clergy are supposed to get lined up a year or 2 you're ordained.
Okay.
But
wow,
I
really?
didn't do it until one Lent. I said, I got to get this penance done. So I made a funeral arrangement stuff, and I asked my mom, I said, there's an odd number grave. They bought 8 graves when they were first married because my aunt had a infant who died. So there's an odd number. There's always this one left. And I said, what are you going to do with that? And she said, well, that's my sister. Nothing. I said, well, I'll use it. I'm cheap. Oh. So next thing you know, next Christmas, she tells me, well, we got your marker up there. I said, what marker? And she tells me the cemetery marker. Okay. So we had her burial a few years ago. Well, there it is. Look at that. I don't know where I'm going to be. So I said, okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Annie Willison, and this is Fueling Up with Father. And today I have with me
Father John Vallier. And
yes.
I'm at St. John Vianney Church in Wyoming, in Michigan.
How long have you been there for?
I'm not good at time and dates. 7 years, I think it's been. Yeah.
Okay.
Going on 8, starting this. Well, I was moved in June, I think, if I remember right. So.
Okay.
So July, starting my 8th year.
8th year. Wow.
So I've always been a priest that, like Lent, a lot of people give things up. I always do one extra thing. The problem is, after Lent, I still do it for years. It's like, that's how I got hooked up with Children's Hospital stuff 20-some years ago.
Okay.
And then coaching sports, they asked me at West Catholic 30-some years ago to help out, being at basketball and saying a prayer in the locker room and other things. Yeah, I could do that. Well, then that snowballed into coaching and these other things. Okay, I don't mind helping out, but I got to run a parish first.
Right, right.
It's one of the things I like about coaching and playing sports is you learn a lot of lessons that really fit into real life.
Yes, you do.
Not everybody's going to like you all the time.
Yep.
You have sort of guidelines you have to follow. Why? Well, because they're for your benefit. Well, it don't seem like it. You'll find out down the road.
Yep.
I hear a lot of people who are in their 50s or older, God, life goes by so fast. And you know why it goes by fast, don't you? When you're in your 20s, you've been dabbling all these other things, and then as you age, you go, I don't need to do this anymore. Well, I don't like this. Then after you figure out what your vocation, what you're doing in life, it goes by faster.
Yeah.
Because you enjoy what you're doing, you understand a little bit more what you're doing. But before, you're dabbling in so many things, you can't figure out why there's so many dead ends. Well, not everybody has the same abilities.
That's very true.
I know, faith is like the same way. It takes a while to figure out what does God really want me to be or to do?
Mm-hmm.
And he is listening.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's your advice for that?
Listening. And I've learned as a priest, a lot of stuff we don't do is just being present. You don't have to have all the words. They remember you're there.
Yeah.
Now, remember all the words? No, but sometimes it hits them the right way or the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially when you deal with people in grief. They just want to know, is this all there is? I said, no, there's more ahead yet, but we carry on the good that they gave us.
Mm-hmm. And so you coach high school sports.
Yeah, I help coach. I'm a chaplain at West Catholic High School in varsity football. Then I've also been coaching varsity ice hockey at West Catholic. Now West Catholic went to a club with another school. They got plenty of coaches. I said, I don't need to do this much by helping. I said, well, come on and practice once in a while. I know. So I like doing it because they don't see priests doing things what you would think ordinary people do. And I grew up in a family.
Yep.
But I'm not holding it over them, but you just do what you can. And they also know, because I work in a parish, that's my first priority. But that goes hand in hand. A lot of the kids in our Catholic schools go on to Catholic high school, and then I know quite a few of them from both West Catholic and Catholic Central. And I know. But you got to have the academic, the faith, sports sort of helps with the culture and a little bit of the morality of why you do what you do, the discipline you have to have in life.
Yep.
You know, you're not always going to get the call from the official. Well, you're not always going to get the call from your boss when you need a big raise.
Yep.
Well, how come I do all this work? Well, because we think we could work on this a little and develop this a little bit. You know, so everybody has their skills, and I don't want to just say everybody has their station in life, but you have to develop the qualities you have. And I think that's the role of the church. I think it's the role of the parents. They work together. We're helping the parents that way. That's how you bring people to God. Is how do you do that? And you tell your story.
Yep.
We all have a story. Now, whether we reflected on it, sometimes people need a retreat to do that. Some people just need a quiet hour adoration in their parish.
Yeah.
God speaks to you in many different ways, but it's always towards the good.
Yep. So what's your story?
Well, I started because I was the oldest of my family. I grew up, the neighbor across the street ran a farm, and he was a widower. So my dad, like usual, volunteers us kids to help out with all these things.
Yep.
So he helped milking cows and doing farm work. And by the time I was a senior, in order to drive a car, you got to put gas in it. So I worked at a bar just not even a quarter mile from our house, cleaning the bar before school. And then you listen to the jukebox, whatever loud rock and roll music that was playing that day. And that's where I found out the nasty things in the bar. What happens if people drink too much alcohol and you got to clean up after them? I said, oh my God, what's this? So one day I remember in particular, the pastor asked me about if I thought about going to college. And I said, oh, we don't have money for college. Nobody in our families went to college. I said, why? He said, well, I was think about going to seminary. So I said, well, I don't know, I have to think about it. So I remember sitting in the bar after taking a 10-minute break, and I'm sitting there going, well, Lord, what should I be doing here? Because I was thinking of work at General Motors, because I did that a couple summers. And I said, or working fireman. And I said, should I be doing this? So I said, well, we can try. So I applied to Christopher House, which is our seminary program back then in our diocese. And we went to school at Aquinas College. And I felt more drawn to, maybe this is God wants me. And then we did volunteer work, because that was part of what you did in the seminary. And I remember the most fun volunteer job I ever did. We were nurses' aides at St. Mary's Hospital back then. That's when everybody wore white. So there'd be four of us riding over there. And I was amazed how people would say thank you just for the little things you did. And I thought, wow, wow, they really do appreciate this. Well,
Yeah.
you know, and then as time went on, and the seminary formation we have and prayer and the liturgical year, and they see certain gifts you have. Of course, everybody's different abilities they have. I thought maybe this is what God wants me to do. So I stayed with it. And when you get to graduate school studying theology, it becomes a little more serious because it's, you know, specifically about God and church history. Yep. So I thought, wow, this is interesting. And I thought, maybe this must be where I need to be. A few minutes just thinking about it, and then thinking about off and on, it just doesn't go away. And you go, well, it's sort of like people I deal with getting married. Why are you doing this now? You know, well, whenever I hear love is, well, that's nice, but it's not why we get married, you know. Is this your vocation you think God wants you to fulfill? Yeah. Well, of course. I know, well, I think about it a little bit while we do our preparation. And I think some of the seminary formation is preparing you, but at the same time, you know, maybe this isn't your calling. And you have people help guide you a little bit. So, but I learned with a lot of mannerisms and phrases how to get points across to people. I know, because people ask how you doing today, and I use the phrase I learned it from a football coach. You know, every day's a holiday, every meal's a feast, even if it's that mystery meat, a hot dog. So get on the line and start running. And I've used that line so many times, and it fits. Every day is a holiday. It's all how you look at it. It's our role as priests and even lay people is to lay that seed, and the Holy Spirit takes over after that. But if you don't put those little seeds out there, I don't know if we're doing what God's really calling us to be. You got to plant those seeds. That's what parents do. I know. Hopefully, most of them are good seeds. Right. I know, but nobody's perfect. But I look at our role in the church, and that's the only way the church has grown all these years. You plant those seeds and the Holy Spirit really does work. Yep. You try to control it, it don't turn out always the way you want. I know, and sometimes for the good or the bad. That's why you gotta live out your faith and not hide and everybody has their own little hobbies. I used to, when I was in a couple of our rural parishes, I used to do woodwork. You know, carving ducks and that. Well, then I come back to the city and there's more administrative stuff. It's like that sort of went away for a while. But you learn some of the skills you learned when I was a kid around farmers and also around people who worked at GM. And it's like, I have to pass on some, like, I'm amazed how many people don't know what lefty, loosey, righty, tighty means. I said, everybody knew that. Well, you find out they never learned that skill. I know, and I still think that's just like faith. You got to pass on what you understood it to be, and you really do have to let the Holy Spirit work, but you just can't let it just sit there. You got to nurture a little bit. And I think most people do if it's important. But you just pass on what the Lord has given you is good, and the rest of it fades away at some point. If it ain't of godliness, it fades away. I know, I've learned that with the number of funerals we have. All the good goes with you, and you remember people in a few years, all that weakness, nobody's perfect, fades away. I know, but you have to have a positive outlook on life. Some people are struggling to find that now. Crazy the impact our mindset has on everything. Well, part of it I've learned all these years, especially because every parish I've been, except one, has had a Catholic school at because they know I can work with part of the administrative part, but I know what kids are up to because I'm around family life. And, you know, it's about how these kids, you got to be exposed to things that you just don't have at home. A different culture, a different language, a different way of doing things. And then you realize, well, maybe what my parents told me isn't how it always works. And your parents will admit that, not right to your face when you're young, but they'll admit it to you. I was born in the Upper Peninsula, and then we moved down to Portland when my dad was electrical lineman. I think it was 5 or something.
Okay.
All my relatives are in the UP, so I know all these things we do in the UP, and it's a little slower pace, which I like, which most people do. I'm fine out to go to the UP.
Yeah.
But I said, they ask, what's your favorite food? I'm going, I eat all kinds of things. But I said, I have a pasty in the freezer.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty easy to have. Where do those come from? I said, well, they used to have the mines in the UP, and that was like a staple food for them. They were in the mine the whole day. So that's what they had, and it was meat. And I said, some people do what I call a fake pasty. They put potatoes in there rather than rutabaga. And somebody said, what's a rutabaga?
So it's a fake pasty.
You know what a turnip is? Well, it looks a lot like that, but it's got a little more zingy taste than a potato. But I've always liked, that's quick and easy to make. They're made ahead of time. You just got to cook it or microwave it. I'm a big sandwich person. I've always, because I do so many things, sitting down eating was sort of a functional thing. Now, the older you get, well, I guess it does taste pretty good. Maybe I'll try this.
There you go.
I still remember when I was a young associate pastor in Grand Rapids, and I went to the hospital. It was the first time I had to minister to a couple whose child died of SIDS. And I'm in this room with them, and they're just beside themselves. And that's when it just struck me as, why am I here? I don't have the words to make them feel better. I can't change the situation. And then it just struck me as, God put me in this situation because this is what we do. You help people to see everybody has a purpose in life, even if it's only for a week or 112 years.
Yeah.
And God sort of speaks to you. And like I said, God really does give you the words. I mean, biblically, it even points that out. Don't worry about the words all the time. But you sort of got to prepare yourself to know how to deal with some situations. Like, I think a family life is the same way. At some point, you move away from what you grew up with, but you need to come back together once in a while. That's why they call it home. Now, the place you grew up may not have the same home because it was sold to somebody else, but you still need to get together because that's where you learn the first steps of faith, the first steps of right and wrong. And our time is done here on earth. Hopefully we've done what we were called to be as best we can. God knows we're not perfect. That's why he's there lifting us up different times.
Absolutely.
But I know different people I've talked to, they felt uncomfortable visiting the sick, and I'm going, half the stuff we do in life is uncomfortable. That's God drawing the best out of you sometimes.
Yep. We're not made for comfort.
Well, we're not all robots.
Yeah.
I know. People have feelings.
Yeah.
Even though they look like they know everything. I learned that in sports, coaching some of these big, tall kids. They look like, God, they could take care of themselves. They're 6'8". Then you find out they're just a big old teddy bear, man. I said, I know when I was at Grand Valley as a chaplain, a couple gals are asking me, I want to see somebody in my eyes, Father, and everybody's less than 6 feet tall. Where do I go? I said, well, the football linemen are pretty big, tall dudes there. Look into that. They're all teddy bears. You think so? I said, I know so. I see it. You talk to any coach in football, they'll tell you the same thing. They really care, but they have to do their grunt work. And it's not like all the drama. You got to deal with some other things. I know. So I remember when I was at Holy Spirit, after I was at Grand Valley, a couple of those people ended up getting married because they met somebody that way. And I wasn't the matchmaker. I'm not into that.
I was going to say, have you ever matchmade someone?
No. Never. God takes care of that. Other people keep trying to get me to be matchmakers. Nope, because I don't want to be wrong.
I don't want to be wrong.
I ain't going there. Nope, you learn. Nope, don't go there. But I just find being around youth keeps your mind guessing. How do, why? Because everybody seems to want to know the why. And some of that why you're not going to get in this life. You know, why did Grandma have to die so early? Well, she was 94. I don't know how long you think we're going to live. I don't know.
I wouldn't call that early, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why age is so different from everybody. And when you're 20, I was looked at as a 45-year-old priest, as an old man back then. It's like, okay, that's how they perceive it. You know, but I don't know. I guess I just like the liveliness and inquisitiveness of students. They really are people looking to understand how life sort of fits together. And nobody has a corner on the market how to get there. But the Catholic Church has a long tradition of God has created us to be, in many ways, his servant, to know him, love him. That's how you're going to experience it, by serving other people. Yeah, self-serving doesn't get you too far. And we're in a culture today, a lot of people are self-serving, and they call it getting by. And I said, God, you could do better than this. You ever try this? You know, they just don't know the avenues. And that's what we try to do, I think, as a church, to get people to look at avenues of maybe they're called to do this. You know, I'm not going to say maybe you should get married, because I figured you can tell those things, relationships are that personal, a lot easier than what the church is directing you to. But the church has some wisdom in what to look for in those type of vocations. Just like not everybody who thinks they're called to be a priest are going to be a priest. I know. You're called by the people, not just what you want. Yeah. I know. What we do as clergy or priests, I know, is you're bringing the Lord in many ways to the sacraments, but also your own personal life. But you can't get so personal that some things are between you and God. I know, just like married couples. Some things are between you and your wife and God. Yep. I know, or you and your husband and God. It's just, I think that's the way we're created. Man and woman are not meant to be alone. Yep. Well, are you alone as a priest? I said, I used to think like that for about 6 months. I'm going, now I got to deal with 600 kids, not just 2. How are you going to do this? You volunteer when there's an opportunity. That's what I used to tell our students at Grand Valley who are in Catholic ministry. This is the one opportunity you're going to have to volunteer. It's not going to cost you anything if they ask you to leave. Yeah. You'll learn what your abilities are, and if they don't think you have it, or you just don't want to do it anymore, you say, well, it's time to try something different. And I've said my whole life, if you don't like doing what you're doing for your vocation, your job, you better look at somewhere else, because life is too short to be a slave to a boss. Yeah. It's about using your abilities. And it takes some of us a while to figure those out. That's what I like about sports is, I used to say to some of the athletes at Grand Valley, you have God-given gifts. Not everybody has it. You have to develop them, but don't hoard them to yourself. This ain't just all about you. I know, and coaches who are recruiting point out the same thing. It's not just about you, but we could use your abilities. We got to develop some more. Yep. I know, but that's why I do some things a lot of priests don't do, only because that's what I grew up around. The sports, volunteering, the stuff I've learned just in this pediatric oncology program I volunteer at was basically, they'll call me or email me, and there's a student going to be in there for a week, or sometimes bone marrow transplant for 6 months. And they said, can you come in on such and such a day? Then you spend like 3 hours and you play games or watch a movie. I still remember, I've watched that Cars movie like 10 times. And 3 times in Spanish, and I don't even know Spanish. But I know when the kids get excited, I know what part of the movie it is. Right, yeah. You know, and that's what you're doing in a hospital setting. You're creating a positive way of passing their time when you're having treatment for these cancers and blood disorders. And I've done that like 20 years. You know, awesome. But that's when I can, and your free time, I do that. But I also know I have to get work done in a parish. Right. And if they call, that's the best part of being a volunteer. You can say, no, I can't now. And then they call other people on the list. But I started it only because they only had one other guy in the program. And then I found out for about 6 months one year, they kept calling me to when they had these colicky little kids. And I said, okay, what's that about? They said, well, you seem to put them to sleep as soon as you're here. And I said, well, you know why? I just said, you got some of that Similac? And then they laying on your chest, all these wires there, and you just start humming. They don't hear guys' voices that much. They'll still think that's why they conk out. I know. So, but then I've done with teenagers. I mean, I learned Guitar Hero and got stuck on the same song all the time. And kids loved it when you're not
song?
perfect. Free Bird.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, I get stuck on it. It must be a mental block. And then the other kids beating you like crazy. And I said, well, I'm not here to let you just beat me.
Right.
I know. Kids like competition too.
But they don't want
everything. When you're young, around young kids want to be kids. And that's what you try to help with that atmosphere.
Yeah.
But adults, you got a whole lot of other stress things to work with.
Yep.
But it's here to help the youngster. So parents can go talk to doctors for 2 hours and go home and do things for 3 hours. They want to make sure someone's there in case things happen.
Yep.
I learned with little kids. God, I hated playing Candyland as a kid. Now I play the thing all the time. It's like, oh, well, they're just doing it because they love it. I know.
Yep.
But some days you're like you're a big kid, but you don't act like a kid.
Yeah.
I know, just the excitement is there. And I just really do. I like doing what I'm doing. I've been a priest. I'm thinking, God, I'm not good at math, but 38 years.
Okay.
And then somebody said, God, you're still young. They've told me that when I was 50. I'm going, and I thought when you turn 60, you're a fossil. And now I'm going, well, I guess not.
Maybe not.
I know, but I can
What's
still...
your new fossil age?
Well, part of it's partly
what
your body lets you do.
That's true.
I can still throw a football 40 yards. I can still play ice hockey a little bit, but I'm slowly getting away from that because just the time schedule. So now I started picking up doing curling.
Oh, really? Where do you curl at?
Well, they used to have a place over in Kentwood, but they moved up to Cedar Springs.
Okay.
But when I was in graduate school, we went to Toronto because we had to study with the Jesuits.
Okay.
Back in the day. And I everywhere I went, I was just curious about sports. I played racquetball, did all these other things. I went to a school where basically I had a baseball team, football, basketball. I never heard of swimming at a high school thing. I know. But then when I went to college, all these different options and things, even women's sports. I never knew what field hockey was for women. I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Curling, there was only one other guy when I was in graduate school that was into that. And I thought, that's interesting. We used to call it bowling on ice, because they drink beer between every frame, But then you learn the language, and then all of a sudden, the last few years, I thought, a couple of people from my past came back in the Grand Rapids, and they say, hey, we need a skip on our team. Can you help us out? So it happened to work out time-wise. And so I started doing that a little bit here and there on my day off. And, my younger days as a priest, I used to volunteer at it was at Mary Free Bed.
Okay.
Because we had parishioners that worked there.
Yeah.
They started a wheelchair sports camp.
Oh, nice.
So I did that for 25 years, learned how to play wheelchair basketball and sled hockey and all these things with that's called adaptive sports.
Yeah.
So then I found out how many people there. They found out I'm a volunteer, so everybody knows it's John the volunteer. Well, then I remember one kid belonged to a parish I was at, and we're playing tennis, and the gal says, Father, you gotta hit it over here. And this kid goes, is that your dad? And I said, no, I actually call you at church. Oh, really? That's cool. So wherever you're at, you just never know. It's just, you can't do it all by yourself. And that's why kids really are a gift.
Yeah.
They aren't just yours for yourself. They're a gift, just like you're a gift to other people. But you got to have downtime.
For sure.
Clergy, we do our morning and evening prayer, and I've visited a lot of people in the hospital who can't sleep, and I said, what the last words a priest says during night prayer May the Lord grant me a restful night of sleep and a peaceful death.
Uh-huh.
I've never had a problem sleeping after I say that.
Yeah. That's so
Yeah,
true.
some people get a little more time than others.
Yeah.
I don't really think my body's going to last to be 112, thank
You
God.
don't think you're going to?
Gravity pulls on you way too much. But who knows?
Never
Today's
know.
generation
Maybe
are living longer.
Yeah.
And they got bigger feet.
They've got bigger feet.
Yep. I deal with high school kids. The average size now is almost like an 11. I said, wow.
Huh.
I thought I was average at 9 in high school, and I were 9.5 or whatever. But this big, and I said, well, you're made for sturdiness, not for speed. You got to go over here.
You do that based off of shoe size.
Yeah, well, you can tell just when they start moving. Well, you can move real fast. We need this person over here, though.
Uh-huh.
And then ice skating is a whole different. That's just a talent people develop, and
Yeah.
it's an expensive sport because you got to pay for ice time and all that. But
That's
people think they're crashing into each other and fighting all the time. That's old NHL stuff. You get suspended for 2 to 4 games for doing that in high school, and your season's only, 12 games?
Yeah.
It ain't worth it, man.
Not worth it.
You gotta learn how to deal with frustration better.
Yep.
But I used to have to, quite often, I'd be on the side whenever you get penalties by I call it the sin bin.
The sin bin.
And after 2 minutes, you're in the box. And these kids constantly, I didn't mean it. They don't know what you meant. You did it. Just shut up. You're going to sit here. And then when the 2 minutes are up, you come back to the bench, or we'll tell you if you got to go back out. But it's like, they don't know what you mean. You did it.
Right. All they know is that you did it.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I said, well, and they caught you. So there's ways to figure that out down the road, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
I said, we ain't into cheap shots. The second guy in's always going to be the one to get caught.
It's always the retaliation.
Yeah. I said, didn't you learn from mom at home? The guy who did it got you in trouble because you reacted to it.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. The reaction's always bigger than the initial.
Yep. Most of the time.
Yep.
Some of these kids in sports, and including college athletes, they need that mentoring, if that is, with their coaches and stuff, because they just don't always get it from their own family background, their neighborhood. And, it ain't all about getting even with people.
Yeah.
Winning is the fruit of what you put into it. But you're not you can try as hard as you want. You're not always going to be on the winning side.
Yep.
But that stop you from getting better? I hope not.
Yeah. It's just something to learn
I wish I could have got married and had 6 kids. Now you're a priest. Okay, that wasn't answered. I've heard different seminarians say stuff like that. I'm going, oh, God had bigger plans for you. Now you get to deal with all these kids.
Now you have a lot more than 6.
Hope you have the ability to do that. But now, priesthood in many ways has become more, I don't want to say refined, but because you don't have as many, they don't see you as much in a lot of these different things. And I think that's slowly coming back, because you've interviewed enough priests and what they're involved in, and you're going, I didn't know that was going on, and I didn't know this was going on. You go, well, I know the diocese knows a lot that's going on.
Yeah.
But my big thing is you got to get lay people, ordinary people who go to church, involved in those things. And then it's like being a catechist. They learn more being a catechist, have to teach it, than a lot of times the kids do. Because you have to be prepared. Well, that's what Jesus even told the disciples. Be prepared. But I'll give you the words. I'll give you the energy. Like I do a lot of things. Here's plan A, but you better think of plan B, because it ain't always going to turn out that way.
Right. It's not always going to be plan A.
No. Well, you found your way around.
I did. We got
around
back.
Enough cul-de-sacs. I could have told you,
know.
Don't turn there. Don't go there. Well,
That's
thank
how
you.
It works. Well, thank you. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed getting to know you more, and I'm sure everyone else did too. So
I'm sure it'll be plastered all over the sighted web.
Yes, it will be. So
and hopefully the church continues to show its light.
Yes, that is always the goal, right?
Yep. Well, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. You as well.
All right. Good driving.
Thank you.